No, I saw a show on ancient aliens.
What do you think?
It's pretty crazy.
What do you believe?
Back then, I think
aliens?
there's a good chance that there were aliens that came here back 1,000 years ago, and just like this and so back then, people called them sky people. They were talking about. They had statues of like these short, like fat things with machines, but it looks like a statue of architect. But they're like, this is how the alien looked, and I was like, whoa.
There's a good chance you're an alien.
No, just imagine a big fat head walking around. Like,
show everybody what happened to your belly button.
No, my belly was back. Then I had a hernia for like 2 months.
Yeah, 2 years. Good thing you got that fixed. Just jam it back in there. All right, yo, what's up, guys? My name is Chris Tutela, alongside my good friend, colleague, and co-host,
Ruben Borges. What's up?
Welcome to episode number 39 of TTS Talk. 39 episodes in, kid. We've been making some traction here.
Jeez.
Yeah, how you feeling?
Good, man. I'm feeling great. Summertime. After my vacation in Cali, went there for like 3-4 days. I'm feeling back to normal.
Relax. It's the first time that's just me and you on the show in quite a while.
A couple of weeks.
3 weeks. I think a month ago was the last time. So.
What were we talking about last time?
I don't know. Probably your sexcapades.
I thought it was Michael Jackson we were bringing up. But what can we talk about today?
Yeah, so we got some good stuff for you guys today, because being that it is the summertime, and Ruben and I both receive a lot of questions on how to get lean and conditioning and all that good stuff. I want to make this short and sweet for you today, just so you can have some good action items that you could begin applying right away, start burning more body fat, start living the way you want to live, right? So Ruben and I were just talking about this. So if you really break down training, we got 4 categories, right? The first one is training for speed and power, okay? You want to be fast, you want to be explosive, that's category 1, okay? The second, strength. If you want to get stronger, you're going to have to lift heavy shit, okay? And we're going to have to do that intelligently. Number 3, we can talk about hypertrophy, or building muscle, right, Coach?
Yeah, tension, stressing of the muscle, tempo. 4th,
we're talking about conditioning. And when we talk about conditioning, we're talking about something a little bit more related directly to your sport. If you're an MMA fighter, your conditioning is going to be a little bit different than a golfer, right? Or a pitcher in baseball. So when we talk conditioning, don't
specific.
Right. It's going to be a little bit more specific and geared for for an athlete. Now, notice that fat loss is not in one of those categories, right? Now, why is that? All right. So think of it this way: when you are training for performance, and when I say performance, don't just associate that with athletics, because living life, that is performance-based, right? You want to feel good, you want to be able to move fast, jump, swim, all that stuff, right? So when you're training, fat loss is, there's not a workout out there that targets fat loss, so to speak, regardless of what you hear out there in the mainstream. The reason that you think that there is some type of training program that you need to follow in order to lose more body fat, that's only because of marketing. It's only because group training facilities became more popular, and they started saying, you got to do HIIT in order to lose more body fat. You have to do this or that, right, Coach? You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
It's kind of using that word. Once you hear, I think a lot of people
buzzword, right?
Yeah, it's like you hear fat loss. Well, what is it that you do for this?
Right.
And it goes both ways too, with muscle gaining. Hey, looking to gain muscle, do this. Cool, I'll do that exercise. It's simple things like that. Don't be fooled by the word, that trendy word, and what it's getting attached to, right?
Sure.
And often not, because I think they equate sweating to fat loss.
Yeah. I want to touch on that too. Like, let's save that for later. Let's save that, because I definitely want to go back. Just remind me, I want to go back to that though, because that's a really good point.
Yeah.
But I just want to kind of go over these categories real quick so we don't drift off too far. But those 4 categories, that's how you're going to build the foundation of the physique that you want and be able to do the things that you want to do well, okay? Move well, feel good, all that stuff.
That's great that you say it, because a lot of people, when they say fat loss. I want to lose fat. But then when they ask them to elaborate that, they start talking about their body composition. Well, I want to lose fat because I want to kind of build stronger shoulders, or I want my legs to be, I want my abs to be more defined, or I want a bigger back, bigger chest, bigger butt, stronger quads, whatever it is. Then, it goes from fat loss to, well, actually, what you really want is to build muscle.
Right.
Right? It's like, I know they want the fat loss, but then their goals start talking into actually building muscle, and it kind of goes another way.
Right.
So in a way, it's almost like they're not sure exactly what they want, but they know a specific look and physique that they want to go for. And that's what you're talking about, kind of hitting the best way to get that.
Right. Yeah. So in order to lose fat, that is a byproduct of good quality nutrition, right? Essentially eating more than you consume, right? In a nutshell, and of the right nutrients, and doing work. So if you're training for strength, if you're training for hypertrophy, if you're doing conditioning stuff, you will lose body fat if your nutrition is in check.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just need to do work. You need to move. So what I want you to focus on is, and part of that movement, of the foundation of that movement should be quality strength work. Okay, that is the most important thing, because I'll tell you why. One, if you're talking about improving stability from head to toe, we're going to need to focus on getting stronger. If you are looking to develop, and this is proper strength training, right? Because make sure if you're not doing these correctly, this could create issues for you as well. So you need a good coach.
And strengthening stability, that's what you were going back to, performing in everyday life.
Right.
You want stability.
Exactly.
You trip, you want to catch yourself.
Right.
And not fall on the floor.
And now joint health, right? If we want to improve the quality of our joints, proper strength training through a full range of motion, quality technique, and like, for instance, the scapula is something we talk about all the time, right? Getting those scaps to move, retract, protract, depress, elevate. We got to get them moving, okay? So the same goes for the hip musculature and your knees, creating stability in the knees, mobility in the ankles. That's going to come from a well-designed quality strength training program, okay? You sprinkle a little bit of mobility stuff in there, okay? And now you've developed your foundation, right? You're getting stronger. You're developing more mobility because of the quality of the movements.
You're moving the right way, right?
Yep. And now you're developing more stability. Now if we sprinkle into a well-designed training program some hypertrophy work, because you want to build muscle, right? You said you want that sculpted shoulder look, right? You want to build your biceps, your chest, your back, your quads, your glutes, all that stuff. So now we got to sprinkle in some hypertrophy work. So now we're going to train, now this is a whole nother topic, right? There's levels to this too, where it comes to hypertrophy and proper rep range. Is it 8 to 12? Could you do up to 50 reps? The answer, long story short, is yes. Just for you right now, just do the work, right? Just focus on, and now let's just say your strength sets are somewhere between 1 to 5 reps, okay? And now when we get into hypertrophy, we can even say somewhere around 6. Technically, what they always said was 8 to 12. But if we're saying anywhere between 6 to 15 reps, and you just focus on getting stronger in that quote-unquote hypertrophy rep range, that is going to stimulate growth. From what I've found with the natural lifter, that stimulates growth better than anything else. Making sure that you're following the progressive overload principle, right? Either increasing reps or sets or weight week after week. That is what is going to stimulate growth in the natural lifter, I found, more than anything. Now, there's advanced protocols and set rep schemes and, of course, all that stuff that you can do once you get more advanced. But for most of the general population, people who come to us, get stronger in that hypertrophy rep range, and you're going to see your physique change dramatically. And like I said, because you're doing the work, right, whatever that movement is, just working in general, you're going to be burning more of those calories, burning more energy that you're consuming, and you're eating well, you're not eating crap, you're going to end up taking off a shit ton of body fat. You don't need to do HIIT or anything else. Go ahead.
And adding to that, with the rep range, right? They're just moving, they're working as is. But then you start adding, because as you start doing it, you start realizing the muscle that you're being worked. And let's say you're being coached, now you're learning how to create actual tension on the certain muscle group that's being worked. So, and to be specific with that range, if you're learning how to activate the proper muscle, that's going to maximize your result and that hypertrophy and that muscle building, because now there's just extra to do with it. So as Coach was saying, as you're doing the reps, now start adding that to it, where whether you're being coached or whether you just learn sometimes on yourself, you just kind of learn how to like kind of create, let's just say a bicep curl to create the tension up top, good squeeze, controlling down rather than just kind of going up and down. That's just going to add to it. You're going to see that progress. And sometimes to go back to what you're saying, like they prescribe that certain range, 8 to 12, but then to add even more to that, if you actually learn the quality of the movement and the actual tension, then that's just another, bigger bang for your buck to continue on with muscle building and doing it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another point there, and a question that I often get asked is, how do I target body fat in this area? How can I take body fat off of my abs? Like I got these abs today. What exercise could I do? Mm-hmm. There is no exercise that's going to target the body fat in that area. Again, regardless of whatever you've read in some weird magazine or whatever ad popped up.
Some infomercial that's 6 second abs.
Right. We only wish it was that easy. But the thing is, actually I don't fucking wish it was that easy because the work is probably the most valuable thing you could ever have. But anyway, not to get off topic, but you're not going to be able to target body fat in a specific region. Okay, body fat, when you're dieting, right, when you're eating well, and when you are training, body fat is going to come off from head to toe. Mm-hmm. We're not going to target this specific area. You could target the muscle, right? Because you say, okay, if you want that toned look, quote unquote, and you want, and you say your arms, for instance, well, that means we're going to build more lean muscular tissue. That means we're going to burn body fat off in general, and then all of a sudden your arms are vascular and they look toned, right? So that's what that is all about. There's not a specific way to target a given area. So just don't get caught up into that, that misconception either.
And let your body just naturally lose that fat. So if you're doing things the right way, I think the main thing to focus on when you're looking to directly hit a certain part of the body part that has fat in it is patience. Mm-hmm. It's just the last part. I mean, I know with me, as like whether I'm kind of training for a certain look or anything, my lower part of my abs and my lower back is usually the last of the area of fat to really decrease. To each his own. I feel like it's for most people it's kind of that way, but just be patient. That means you're almost there, and that's just the part that you were saying. What's the part that makes it tough? That makes you want to do it more. Hey, you got to stay with it. Keep sticking with it because you're right there. Yeah, and just wait. Don't think of no magic pill, no magic movement that's going to specifically lose that fat in that certain area. So be patient.
It's just going to take you stepping up your game with your nutrition and making sure that you're consistent in your training. That's it. Yeah. And now, just to kind of go back to those 4 categories that we talked about earlier, right? So if we're talking about developing speed and power, okay, so that means that we have to do stuff fast, right? So you could, and now it depends on the person, whether you're an athlete, whether you're advanced or whatever. Okay, so what we do here for speed and power, because there's ways to do it, right? We could talk about moving a barbell faster on a strength exercise. So you take a squat, right, and we use 50% of your 1 rep max. And now we can do that as fast as possible. We can move that load as fast as we can. You add bands and accommodating resistance and stuff like that. That's a little bit more advanced. But you could do that to develop more speed and power. Okay, but what's another way to do it? Well, how about jumping? Okay, how about throwing a medicine ball, right? And there's a ton of different medicine ball variations, medicine ball
so many, there are like tons of ways to throw a medicine ball.
God, yeah.
You'd be astonished for when you just think about it. Some people just think of a couple moves. No, there's a lot of different ways to throw a ball.
Yep, for sure. And now, and sprinting would be another option, right? So making sure that, and now getting full recovery, because if you're fatigued, right, or if you, and that's going to be for low reps, right? So if you're if you're training specifically for speed, it's not going to be one of those long workouts where you're tired and you're sweating and you feel like crap because you're beating yourself up, because then we're not going to be able to move fast enough. So we want to prioritize speed in that type of workout, okay? If we're talking strength, we need to make sure that we have enough load on the bar, the dumbbells, whatever, so in order for us to achieve maximal effort, okay? So if you want to get stronger, you need to focus on moving heavy shit, period. When we talk about hypertrophy, this is going to be probably one of the better ways, if we're going back to fat loss for a second, when you are training for hypertrophy, since you're doing, you're minimizing rest intervals, you're training with higher volume, you could associate that more with losing body fat and fat loss, right? So, but like I said, and if there's one that's probably worse or not so associated with fat loss, it's probably going to be on the speed side of things, because like I said, you're going to do things fast,
rest.
1, 2, 3 reps, you're going to rest 2-3 minutes, and then you're going to repeat, right? So you're not going to, so to speak, burn at so many calories as you would with training for hypertrophy.
I mean, you kind of almost think of like muscle conditioning, like you're getting your conditioning in with your training.
Exactly, because you could kind of, if you were to superset a few different exercises or 2 different exercises, your heart rate's going to be up a little bit higher, it's going to take a little bit more work and more demand. Now, when we're talking about conditioning, right? Conditioning could also be associated with losing more body fat, but you don't want to just focus on the conditioning stuff, and that could be, swimming, hiking, biking, walking, running, whatever. Okay, cycling. That could be associated with losing body fat too. But remember that the amount of lean muscle mass that you have on your frame, that's what ultimately dictates your metabolic rate, right? So if you are not training in a way that's going to develop the growth or stimulate the growth of lean muscular tissue, then you're doing yourself, a disservice, because you can actually slow down that metabolic rate, and now you're not going to get that look that you want. So if you were just to do cardio, that's what could happen. You could end up losing muscle mass. So you want to sprinkle that shit in.
For example, coach, you think like someone that maybe goes on long runs like every day.
Right.
You're kind of saying like that, and maybe, and
that's all they do. That's all they do.
Yeah, that's all they do. And let's say specifically you're not looking to train for a 10K or a marathon. Your goal is fat loss and you're doing it in that sense, that could be a disservice, because now you're losing muscle as well, which is going to lower your metabolic rate.
Right. And listen, when it comes down to if you're training for a marathon or you're a triathlete, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't strength train. You should absolutely still do that, because of everything that I mentioned earlier when it comes to stability, mobility, strength, your rate of force production, right? You need to be, if you're stronger. Now, of course, there's levels to that, because the power lifter is not going to be the greatest triathlete, right? Yeah. So, nor is the bodybuilder, right? So I'm not telling you to train to get gigantic, but you should still be strength training. But that is going to be a little bit more geared for the end goal that we're training for. So if you want to peak for your marathon on August 5th, right, then we're going to plan, your program is going to be designed so then you peak on the 5th, right? So it's going to be more specific than just, if you're just training for general health and fitness. So that's the biggest difference. So for you, if you have nothing else going on as far as an event, right, or a sport, then here's what you're going to do. You're going to eat well, and you're going to move often.
That's it.
And you're going to strength train. Period. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that, but people like to overcomplicate this shit.
Yeah, because you can, whatever goal you're looking for, you can't go wrong just getting strong at the end of the day. And to go back what you're saying, if you're eating quality foods and you're just moving, we've seen it here at TTS so much, last 5 years, guys that are first time to training, all they're doing is moving. It might not be with the best quality, but they continue, to show up, and go back, always be consistent. Yep. And they just kept moving. And I would say within months, I would have to stop them, just pull them aside, like, dude, amazing.
Right.
You look great. They lost maybe 15, 20 pounds of fat just like that. They're moving better. And all it was is, like they say, practice makes perfect. It's just keep moving.
It's practice, but it is practice.
It really is.
And that's the thing too. Your strength training is a skill.
It's kind of
a skill. You have to develop your skills.
And that's the way I kind of saw it, coming back from just like a sport background. This guy kept coming at it. He kept, all right, am I doing it? I was like, all right, we're getting there. We're almost there. Maybe we're not a 10 out of 10, but we're a 7 out of 10 now. Now we're getting better. And then,
but before it was a 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now it's and it's unbelievable how just from them doing that, and to be honest, we didn't even load the movement. It was just learning the movement. But loading that movement creates, such activation and just gets the body going to where it needs to be. I mean, when you are going from nothing, just moving in itself, that's training.
Yeah,
you are training.
And if you're someone who's like, I don't have time to take a shit during the day, like I don't know how I could go to the gym for an hour. Like if that's you and you got 15 minutes we all got 15 minutes, right? So if you were to just do like a plank, a push-up, an inverted row, a squat, maybe a chin-up if you had access or if you're capable of doing chin-ups, but if not, inverted row, squat, push-up, plank, and just do a circuit of that for 5 rounds of 10 reps of each. Hey,
we brought a couple guys here on the show. Like when we asked them, hey, when did you start training? He goes, well, first they made the decision to kind of get healthy, but then they say, hey, I started at home.
Right.
They were doing like 10 minutes, I was
10, 15 minutes is better than nothing. Just do that. That's quality stuff. You'll progress that way.
And it got them to come in here because then they realized, all right, I've been feeling good. Now, I want to come to, kind of get coached up and learn that. I did the other day. I was had a busy day and things kind of went longer than it should, and I was planning on doing conditioning. And luckily, I live right next to a park. I just all right, well, I got like about 18 minutes here, and I just ran out. I took 1 lap, and I took about 8 or 10 sprints, walked them back. But it took me 15 minutes. I broke a sweat. I got my work in, and that's all it was. It took me to walk outside and just know, all right, I got 18 minutes. I can get this done in 18 minutes.
Yeah,
and you can.
You can keep one set of kettlebells and a rubber band in your house, apartment, whatever, and you can do that in your living room. You can take it outside and just do a couple things, but it's just as long as you're moving and just focused on, like I said, a 15-minute workout, a 10-minute workout even, it's better than nothing. Just do it consistently. Combine that with good nutrition, boom, you're going to see some results. 100%.
That's like a guarantee. We see it's just from
So
what we see. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You have access to, things that we put out there. We put a lot of good quality out there, whether it be on IG, on podcasts, on YouTube, and especially in today's day and age with all the technology we have, take advantage of it.
Yep, absolutely. So, guys, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to make this a short one. Make sure that you start to apply the stuff that we're talking about so you can see it for yourself. That's the best way. Stop searching. Stop looking for the next best thing. Just start moving, and you're going to make progress. I guarantee it. All right? So, guys, if you have any questions for me, you can always reach out on Instagram. I am at Chris_Tutela, Tutela. Also, check out the Iron Life podcast, anywhere podcasts are available. And, of course, make sure you're watching TTS Talk every week. Coach, where can these guys find you?
Guys can find me on Instagram at _Ruben, RUBEN _BORGES. I'm constantly having people any type of exercise I put out there. If they have any more questions on it, they ask me. Feel free to DM me if any questions you guys might have.
Beautiful. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Catch you next week.
TTS Talk.